Hi, I'm Howard Nima, and this is a Truth Talk News special report. Over the last 30 years, television and movies, music, pop culture in general, has hypersexualized our youth with ever-increasing images of immoral behavior being promulgated. And then whatever your views are on gay marriage and transgenderism, it is all the rage in pop culture today, all the rage in mass media. The danger of this is not the individual rights that these people deserve, is that they wish to instill these philosophies upon the masses, trying to engage the masses to not only accept but become part of this community or these communities, at the detriment of society as a whole. The hypersexualization of society is affecting younger and younger people, children, 6-year-old children, growing up to look like hookers on the street, porn stars, professing that they wish to be sexual and at much earlier ages, and now in schools teaching how to use condoms, how to use birth control, to kindergartners, and telling them the differences between anal sex and incest and oral sex, teaching this to kindergartners they want to indoctrinate. It's a very dangerous slope that we're sliding down here in America and across the world. This is a new world order. It's not alone to America, but America is the entertainment capital of the world, especially Hollywood, and they just overemphasize this completely.
But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people, and the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be a greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
Today's ISIS, Al-Qaeda, known as Al-Qaeda, Radical Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of Death, Skull and Bones, and the Thule Society, and many others, are all initiates of the same order, the Order of the Quest. Interestingly, one of the oldest of these secret societies is known as the Roshaniya, who originated from ancient Persia in what is today known as Iraq. This may shed some light on the continuous and ongoing conflicts that exist in the Middle East. Although they may appear to be in opposition or conflict, these orders are all one and the same and are each working for the same goal, the New World Order. The Islamic aspect seeks to convert all the world to totalitarian socialism via Sharia law, in accordance with the same principles as the Illumined, the ones behind the scenes of all these groups. This all stems from the ancient Persian order of the Assassins, who were the progenitors of the Knights Templar. Here's a reading from Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper. One mystical secret society of special interest is the powerful society of Afghanistan in ancient times, called the Roshaniya, Illumined Ones. The major tenets of this cult were the abolition of private property, the elimination of religion, the elimination of nation-states, the belief that illumination emanated from the Supreme Being, who desired a class of perfect men and women to carry out the organizational and direction of the world. Belief in a plan to reshape the social system of the world by first taking control of individual countries one by one, and the belief that after reaching the fourth degree, one could communicate directly with the unknown supervisors who had imparted knowledge to initiates throughout the ages. The Roshaniya also called themselves the Order, Initiates took an oath that absolved them of all allegiances except to the order, and stated, quote, "I bind myself to perpetual silence and unshaken loyalty and submission to the order. All humanity which cannot identify itself by our secret sign is our lawful prey." The order, of course, is the order of the quest, and the cult preached there was no heaven and no hell, only a spirit state completely different from life as we know it. The spirit could continue to be powerful on earth through a member of the order, but only if the spirit had been itself a member of the order before its death. Thus members of the order gained power from the spirits of the dead members. The Roshaniya took in travelers as initiates and then sent them on their way to found new chapters of the order, and they were called fellow travelers. You see, this order, as all before it, and all since, are socialists, communists. It is believed by some that the assassins were a branch of the Roshaniya. Branches of the Roshaniya, or the Illumined Ones, or the Illuminati, existed and still exist everywhere. Evidence of this brings us back to the year 1110, where the bricks and mortar of the foundation of the modern age were first cast. To further illustrate this is an excerpt from William Cooper's March 2nd, 1993, Hour of the Time broadcast of episode number 12 of the Mystery Babylon series. Please stay tuned.
I'm William Cooper, and you're listening to the Hour of the Time. In the year 1110, I consider that the beginning of the modern age, although historians may disagree with me. It's the beginning of everything that's ever happened since, and everything that's happening today can be traced right to the door of the Knights Templar. And that's why I say that. They were the first modern order to practice what we now know as true communism. They were the ones who brought international socialism into Europe, which has always been the tenet and the creed of the mystery religion of Babylon. Only 1 year after their establishment, Fulk, Count of Anjou, who had come to Jerusalem on a pilgrimage, joined as a married member and gave them an annual grant of 30 pounds of silver. This example was soon followed by other devout Western princes. For the first 9 years of their existence, the knights continued to live a life of chastity and poverty in accordance with their vows. They adopted a striped white and black banner called the Busant, after their original piebald horse, and this word also became their battle cry. Special raiment they had none, and they wore whatever clothes were given to them by the pious, but little by little, as one writer puts it, they were to become haughty and insolent. And the black and white banner, the translation of the meaning of which was for the, again, exoteric. For the real meaning of the black and white banner was the meaning of the androgynous God, the positive, the negative, the black and the white, the yin and the yang. The male and the female combined into one, and that was the real meaning of the black and white banner. And it's carried forth today on the floor of many of the temples of Freemasonry, where the black and white checkered pattern exists, and in one famous cathedral in Europe, built by the Knights Templar. They disguised their esoteric religion in an exoteric manner that would be accepted by Christianity. Baldwin of Jerusalem, who had been a prisoner in the hands of the Saracens and knew of their disunity, realized at about this time that Islam must eventually unite against the Christian invasion, and he decided that the Templars would prove ideal allies in the battles which were to come. In 1127, therefore, he sent 2 Templars with his strong recommendation to the Pope, applying for official recognition of the order by the Holy See. And this is the first time that the Templars even were considered to be close to the center of religion, the Christian religion in that day, the Catholic Church, the Pope. For they were not commissioned as a Christian order, They were not commissioned by the Pope or by the Church. And this is a big myth that the Knights Templar started out to protect the Church and protect the pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem. They were established first, primarily and foremost, as a branch of the ancient order of the religion of Mystery Babylon. And it's indicative of the strategies that they've used since to endear themselves to whatever the established power or the beliefs of the majority of the people might be. When they went to see the Pope, they had an introduction to Saint Bernard himself, the abbot of Clairvaux, who was known to be an admirer of theirs and who was a nephew of one of their envoys. Then the Grand Master himself arrived in Europe and received the eulogistic opinion of the abbot. Quote, "They go not headlong into battle, but with care and foresight, peacefully, as true children of Israel. But as soon as the fight is begun, they rush without delay upon the foe and know no fear. One is often put to flight 1,000 to 10,000, gentler than lambs and grimmer than lions. Theirs is the mildness of monks and the valor of the knight." Unquote. Now, folks, this was a strong recommendation, and this testimonial was a part of the campaign to help the Templars in their efforts at recognition by the Pope. All of you who have thought that they began as a religious order in the first place are so way off base that it's pathetic. And neither were the Jesuits a religious order in the first place, but we'll get that together in another broadcast. But on the 31st of January in the year 1128, the Master appeared before the Council of Troyes. Now, this formidable body consisted of the archbishops of Rheims and Sens, 10 bishops, and a number of abbots, including Saint Bernard himself, presided over by the Cardinal of Albano, the papal legate. They were approved, and Pope Honorius chose for them a white mantle, completely plain. The red cross was added by order of Pope Eugenius III in 1146. And see, you thought the Templars thought of this. Nope, not at all. This was mandated by 2 popes. First, a white mantle, completely plain, and then later the red cross was added by order of Pope Eugenius III in 1146. Hugh de Payens now took his delegation through France and England and collected a number of recruits. Gifts and grants were showered upon the order. Lands, rents, and arms were forthcoming from all quarters. Richard I of England was enthusiastic about them. By 1133, King Alfonso of Aragon and Navarre, who had fought the Spanish Moors in 29 battles, had willed his country to them. Although when the Moors finally laid him low, his nobles prevented the Templars from claiming their rights. Nevertheless, this was a great honor. In fact, to my knowledge and to our research into history, it had never before been done. In 1129, the Master, accompanied by 300 knights recruited from the noblest houses of Europe, led a huge train of pilgrims to the Holy Land. It was at this time that the Templars formed part of the Christian contingent, which, allied with the Assassins, tried to take Damascus. And it wasn't the first time nor the last that the Christian Knights Templar, or supposedly Christian Knights Templar, they really weren't Christian at all, were allied with the Assassins. Were they, as the Orientalist von Hammer alleges, connected in some secret way with the Assassins? Yes, our research shows that it is a historical fact. And it is also an historical fact that the Assassins were prepared to adopt Christianity if they could gain greater power thereby. Christianity, that is, on the surface, just as the Knights Templar had done. Hammer points to the similarity of the two organizations. The followers of Hassan ibn Sabah were in contact with the Templars and had a similar method of organization. They were in existence before the Templars were formed. The Ishmaelites The Ishmaelians, or Assassins, was the original. And folks, the Order of the Templars was the copy. The balance of Western opinion is against this contention, more particularly because one feels from wide reading of historians great sympathy is felt for the cruelly treated and arbitrarily disposed Templars. Thus, Kitely, who made a close study of the order, attacks those who would claim that the Templars were an assassin branch, but when you do research into the associations and memberships of Kitely, you'll find that Kitely was himself a Knight Templar. And he said, quote, "When nearly 30 years after their institution, the Pope gave them permission to wear a cross on their mantle, like the rival Hospitaller order, no color could present itself so well suited to those who daily and hourly exposed themselves to martyrdom as that of blood, in which there was so much of what was symbolical. With respect to internal organization at will, we apprehend, be always found that this is for the most part of the growth of time and the product of circumstances, and is always nearly the same where these last are similar," unquote. And you find this kind of rhetoric and semantics all through the writings of those who wish to cover the true origin and the true meaning of Mystery Babylon. The famous question of the 3,000 gold pieces paid by the Syrian branch of the Assassins to the Templars is another matter, which has, of course, never been settled. One opinion holds that this money was given as a tribute to the Christians, the other that it was a secret allowance from the larger to the smaller organization, which it really was, as the Assassins wished to expand their control. And remember, their original goal was to take over the entire world by the systematic infiltration and control of each individual country. Those who think that the Assassins were just fanatical Muslims and therefore would not form any alliance with those who to them were infidels should be reminded that to the followers of the old man of the mountain, only he was right, and the Saracens who were fighting the holy war for Allah against the Crusaders were as bad as anyone else who did not accept the assassin doctrine. And it is true today. Quote, "If you are not one of us, you are nothing," unquote. Quote, "The ends justify the means," unquote. Quote, "The strength of our order exists in the fact that we manifest ourselves under many different names and many different occupations, and sometimes even seen to oppose ourselves, but at the highest level we are of one mind," unquote. And I could go on and on and on, and you all know that I can go on and on and on, for I've studied this for so many years that I eat, drink, and sleep it. Oh yes. Well, eventually grave charges against the Templars during the Crusades included the allegation that they were fighting for themselves alone. And more than one historical incident bears this out. The Christians had besieged the town of Ascalon in 1153 and were engaged upon burning down the walls with large piles of inflammable materials. Part of the wall fell after a whole night of this burning. The Christian army was about to enter when the master of the temple, Bernard de Tremeliae, claimed the right to take the town himself. This was because the first contingent into a conquered town had the whole spoils. As it happened, the garrison rallied and killed the Templars, closing the breach. There seemed good grounds for believing that the power which they had gained caused the Templars to devote their efforts as much as their own order's welfare as to the cause of the cross, in spite of their tremendous sacrifices for that cause. Having no loyalty to any territorial chief, they obeyed their master alone, and hence no softening political pressure could be put upon them. Well, this might well have led to an idea that they were an invisible superstate, And that is exactly the fact. But this does show some similarity with the invisible empire of the assassins. If none can deny their bravery, their high-handedness and exclusivity in less than 150 years after their founding gave them the reputation of considering themselves almost a law unto themselves. And now, dear listeners, we get into the meat. The direct connection between the historical events and the events that are happening today.
And indeed, we are seeing the results of it all. The New World Order abounds. And it's interesting how there's so much controversy over this agreement with Iraq. An agreement that was written by the New World Order. Obama, of course, caves because he's part of the order. He's a Freemason. And once again, America loses and the Roshaniya wins. So remember, Iraq is where it all started. That's the whole concept I'm having here. And that's where the war started, did it not? And now we have Iran. Now we have Iran. Well, the only banks that are missing from the Rothschild cartel, central banks that is Iran, North Korea, and Cuba. It looks like we got Cuba locked up because America is opening their socialist communist ties to commingle with the Cubans again and the communists. Well, only these communist regimes, they never look at the terror and horror. It's scary that they're going to make America this way and sell to the world that American freedom is socialism and authoritarian rule. Wake up. We've got to take back our government and restore constitutional government before it's too late. Bill Cooper's words from 1993 resonate even more now. And you should check out the Mystery Babylon series. There's a link on my website, howardnema.com, and there should be a link on the description of this video as well. Find your own truth. There is only one truth. Seek, and you'll find it. Check out Truth Talk News on YouTube and howardnema.com. Listen to Truth Talk News live Thursdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on UnitedFMRadio.com.
This information is really critical stuff, folks. You really have to investigate these ties to the secret societies and how that they all are one order working for this goal. So it would explain why there are so many members of the Muslim Brotherhood in the highest levels of our government, including Homeland Security, who is going to be behind the potential rounding up of American citizens, right, in the event of a undeclared national emergency. Unspecified national emergency. I mean, this is it. So it's not even like they're not even specifying anymore. Any reason that they want through executive order, they could just say it's martial law. And they could round up anybody that they want for any reason that they want. This is communism. This is what we got. You asked for it, you got it. Toyota. Remember that? So they're going to potentially do this and then round these people up, bring them to the FEMA camps, which are ready for a lot of things, and there's a lot of bodies. And as I understand, there's a lot of speculation that this is not a true story. But I'm not I can't 100% verify this. But if somebody could, please, get back to me or put a posting on the video, on the replay here, or on the live show. Call in 860-626-5193. But it appears that there are 30,000 guillotines under requisition by the Department of Homeland Security. I know that for a fact that there are 4,700 tanks and 3 billion rounds of ammunition. They're planning something or preparing for something. Unbelievable amount of activity going on in FEMA Region 3 for a long time, and other areas. Now you have Jade Helm. They're preparing for martial law. They're preparing to infiltrate communities. They're doing it right now. It's happening. And they're infiltrating. The idea of it is to infiltrate communities and get to make ties with the people in the communities. I mean, that is just scary shit. And this is supposed to train them. Train them for where? For going to back to the Middle East to fight against the Roshaniya? Yeah, right. With the Roshaniya, to help the Roshaniya. Because it looks as though our country is doing more to help the Roshaniya and the Iranians than to help Israel. But interesting, I talk about Israel. Going back into the mysteries, do you know where Israel comes from? And if you put the letters together and think about it, you might be very surprised. I was talking about the fact that there is this control by the secret societies and their beliefs and their religion, which is the mysteries. And Isis is the female representation god, the god of fertility, Isis. And Osiris is Lucifer, their god. And the fact of the matter is that Isis, okay, and Ra is the sun god, okay, Ra, Isis, Ra, and El, that's Israel, and El is God. So, that's what it means. It means Isis, sun god. And that's Ra, who is also Osiris, the sun. So it is all about the ancient mysteries. So Israel has nothing to do with Judaism, just like the Catholic Church has nothing to do with Christianity. It's the same perplexing truth, but it's the truth nonetheless. So understand that when you're supporting Israel, support the people, the subjects, you know, because we're all subjects. We call ourselves, we're not really citizens. We're subjects. We're subjects to what they say. You know, that's pretty much the way it is. More people that wake up to that, you'll realize it. We are being bamboozled to believe we are free when they take away our rights. It's unbelievable. So, since we have this understanding now that the secret societies are behind it, they're not just working from the Middle East. In other words, as I'm mentioning, the assassins and the Roshaniya are from the Middle East, but the Skull and Bones comes out of Bavaria in Germany. And you'll find Germany has the highest concentration of powerful secret societies, including the Thule Society, which was behind the rise of Adolf Hitler. But again, they're all working for a new world order. Isn't that what Hitler said too? He was working for a new world order. And he was going to do what they really wanted, to build this Superman, these super people. Remember, like Bill Cooper was saying when he talked about this, when he read right through? Well, actually, one of his just a few minutes ago. You heard him, he heard him say that. Talking about this very same truth, that they are all one and the same. Hitler is the same. It's the same. They're saying the Thule Society was behind Hitler. Everyone knows about the occult and the Third Reich because it's been popularized, and it's way deeper than they popularized it. Just like the Alien Channel. You know, when you watch the Alien Channel, everything's about aliens. That guy with the funny hair. You know, everything is an alien. You know, I'm an alien. You know, whatever. You know, it's all part of this deception, and this part of this continuous conditioning us to believe the absurd, and to certainly dismiss the truth as being part of the absurd. So they'll glam in conspiracy theories, what they quote unquote, which already get a bad rap, which is really just simply the truth, like what I'm talking about here. People will say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, because you've been conditioned to react that way to that, saying that it's a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not even a conspiracy. In fact, don't call it a conspiracy, because it's right out in the open, you dumb sheep. You just don't look and see for it. You just can't, you don't know what to look for, because your eyes are wearing blinders. You got to take off the blinders and see what's going on in your peripheral vision. You got to see what's going on. Like, why are they giving me no money for my savings at all, and the only way I can get money is to put it into the risky stock market, which then crashes and they steal all my money? Well, did you ever think that they planned it that way? That they're doing it exactly that way, so that the only way anybody that can ever get any money through on savings, in other words, people that have wealth, people that are retired, people that can leave their wealth to their children, okay, they lose their wealth. That's how this is going to work incrementally. The next crash will be even worse. And there'll be even worse ones until it'll look just like George Orwell predicted in 1984. Like bombed out Berlin is just normal. Things don't get fixed. Did you ever see a movie called Soylent Green? Same thing. Nothing worked. People had to ride bicycles to get the lights moving in their apartment. Good movie, too. Got to see that one. Soylent Green with Charlton Heston and in his last role, Freemason Edward G. Robinson, who drinks the poison and willfully commits suicide because there are too many people, and he just in that society in the future, because there's so many people, that you can just decide you want to end your life at any time, and there's actually like a little place. It looks like an airport you go to with a concierge, and they take you off and they wheel you away, and they put you on a stretcher, put you into this room, and you get to watch this really nice video about how the world used to be beautiful and it's no longer beautiful. This big global warming green propaganda piece this movie was. Depopulation piece, too, that there were too many people and all of this. And then, as you're watching this, you take poison and you die slowly, and by the time the video ends, you're dead. I mean, this is what's coming. And it's not even like a joke. It's predictive programming. They are going to, the old people are going to be eliminated. You watch. They're going to, the system can't support it. It's socialism. It won't work. It's going to end up real bad, like Hitler's T4. They killed the elderly and the sick, the elderly, and the mentally ill. And they always talk about how beautiful it is. They talk about how, you know, we're so caring, and, you know, and all of this, and the laws are all in place to protect the elderly and elder law. Then why is elder abuse so rampant? Why do conservatorships steal the wealth of all of these people that are incapable of taking care of themselves, that have estates? How does this happen? Because incrementally, systematically, Americans' wealth are being depleted. If you're at the top of the food chain, even you're being hurt. But the middle class is vanishing, and the poor are getting poorer. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Just go to the supermarket. Look how much money you have to pay just to eat. Look how much money you have to pay to heat your home, to drive your car. Although now, because of this Iran deal, you see, this is how they're so evil in their insidiousness. Gas is going to go down to, like, can you believe it? They're talking about $2 a gallon in like 2 months, and it'll probably stay around that area, because now, since they made this deal, Iran can sell its oil here. Because remember, the criminal Henry Kissinger in the 70s conspired with OPEC so that American oil production, we export all our oil and import our oil, if you didn't know that, which makes no sense. If you're an American, I guarantee you that's something that if you've never heard in your life, you'd say, I can't believe that. That's right. Every single oil refinery, every single oil job, everything that we're doing in America with oil, okay, goes overseas. That's right. The end result. Wouldn't it be cheaper for us to have oil here? Of course it would. But that's not the deal they made back in 1971 when they had the oil embargoes, and remember all of that, and the gas shortage, the artificial shortage they created, that whole fraud. Yep. All around the beginning of the environmental movement. It all happened the same time with the birth of Agenda 21 before it became became that. It was just Earth Day, and it all evolved into Agenda 21, which is what we're living under right now. Federal regulators regulating business out of business and consolidating power. Collectivism. That's what it is. It's collectivism. Collectivism. Stealing the wealth from those that have it, siphoning it off to the top while claiming to be giving it to the masses. Simple as that. History repeats itself. This isn't anything new. It's happened over and over again. And they want to do it again. But they want us to embrace our servitude, to be so distracted by all of this demoralizing pop culture, all of this immorality and, everything's, anything goes mentality, so that it's like sort of like if we can give them circus and bread, we can keep, stealing from them until they have nothing. And then when they're of no more use to us, they can be slaughtered. And if you think this is like crazy, it's happened before. Don't be so mind controlled to think that for some reason everything that seems normal in your very, very happy little, sugar-coated world that doesn't really exist, when that facade crashes, just like Yuri Bezimov said, right? It's going to be a big kick in your butt. That's right. You're going to wake up, but you're going to wake up the hard way. The truth is, we have to impeach every single person that's in the Congress and in the office that has ever had any association with a trade deal or anything. And anyone that's voted for all of these treasonous trade deals should be tried for treason. Because that's what it is. It's against the American people. The same thing with the Federal Reserve. Anyone that doesn't want to end the Federal Reserve's power to print money, I'm not telling them to put them out of business. They serve a purpose, okay? But they shouldn't be printing the money and getting interest off of it. That's insane. But they're criminals, and they own the government. That's why we have to take it back before it's too late, before there's no way we can take it back, before this government gets so big that it'll be able to give us everything that we ever could possibly want. It'll give you a TV. Now, look, Obama's giving you a cell phone already. You get free health care, if you're poor. We're going to give you everything that you want as the classes of the poverty continues, as the class of poverty, as the poverty class increases, and they're going to give us television sets and widescreen TVs and free, bus tickets and all sorts of shit they'll come up with to give you for free because you're poor, to help you out as they enslave you further and take the wealth from everyone and siphon it off to the top. That's socialism. That's what's happening here. And they're going to continue to do it. And then guess what happens? When there's no more money, you look like Greece. And when you stop to think about it, how corrupt and deceptive it is, it's unbelievable. I'll try to make it brief. I'll tell you a brief story. My father was the vice president of the International Ladies Garment Workers Union. He was a general manager for 25 years and a vice president for about 10 years. He served 50 years in the union. He was an officer. And he was a good man. He wasn't one of the corrupt ones, but I heard a lot of stories, about people taking money and the corruption and the evil. And I'm like, as I know now, years later, how the unions, it's all part of the New World Order grid of control. Remember the mafia, the Illuminati mafia, because it is an Illuminati, it is part of the Illumined, at least the highest levels of it. The creator of the mafia, the one who actually engineered the mafia, or was behind the idea of the mafia, wasn't some Sicilian guy. It was a guy named Giuseppe Muzzini. And it was founded and created in Sicily under his control, under his command. And that was in the 1850s and through the 1870s and 1880s. And he was a Freemason, and again, part of this order is a Freemason. It's all ritualistic. And getting back to the concept of the unions, now we know that there's a huge element of this order in the unions. And what they ended up doing, here's what they do. This is what they're going to do to America, is what they're going to do to my father. What they did to my father. See how I'm talking about how they want to take away the wealth of the American people, and we'll have less money to leave to our children, so over time we'll have less and less and more relying on the government. Okay, that's my whole theme here. So my father retired in 1985. 1985. In 2003, he got a letter from the union saying that that because they were having problems, economic problems. Now, by the way, just so you know, they weren't having economic problems. They were trying to buy a bank illegally known as the Amalgamated Bank of New York. That was the name of the bank. And it was illegal. It was found through the courts that it was illegal, that they did, and they were fined, and all this other stuff happened. That came out much later, much later. But they said, well, because we're not going to be able to honor your life insurance in its full amount, and we're reducing it from $136,000 to $50,000. So this didn't just happen to my father. It happened to 150 other officers that happen to still be alive. And this was a lawsuit. It was actually, there's an article about it written in the New York Times in 2003. I'll put a link to it on my website now that I think about it and remind it. And what they did was sue. They got together and got a lawyer and they sued. And it took about 8 years to settle for 50%. The problem was my father died 3 years before the settlement, and the settlement was for 50%. So it ended up being $62,500. That was the settlement. But this criminal union, in league with the secret societies, in league with the order, and the IRS, of course, is an arm of this, right? Reported this life insurance payment to the IRS as income from a pension to me. Now the IRS sends me 3 years later a bill for $20,000 for taxes, fees, and interest because I was working for the union. I don't work for the union. Never worked for the union. I don't have a pension with the union. I've put in complaint after complaint. I put in an X 1040X. I redid my tax return. They don't get back to me at all. They just seize every time I have a refund. They just seize my money. They're a mafia. And this is what the union did to my father, who gave him 50 years of service. They cut his insurance in half. And then, I didn't even tell you this, they filed a lawsuit because they did this. So in spite, to show you how spiteful Bruce Rayner is, who's the former president, who was the president of the union at the time, Bruce Rayner, he reduced it to $5,000. So when my father died, I only got $5,000. The funeral costs were $15,000. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who paid for it. And 6 years later, that doesn't even get into consideration to the IRS. No. So I said, well, what about the fact that I paid for his funeral? No. That was 2003. We're talking about taxes that you had in 2013. But I didn't have taxes in 2013 because it was life insurance. Oh, but the union said that it's a pension payout. So there I am. That's the little predicament that I, and I'm sure millions of other Americans, are in with the IRS, the same thing. Get nowhere, and they'll take everything you have. Now, if I was owing the IRS, thank God I don't owe the IRS, but if I was owing them money, they would be trying to seize everything and garnish my wages and do everything else. But I usually get a little bit, a small refund it's not much, but they take it because it's a refund. So not only have they stolen all this money from me, destroyed all this stuff, taxed me on it, but now they're taking my return illegally because it's life insurance. Nobody will really try to help. I mean, the media won't cover this, nothing. So it is what it is. And it's another battle against this corrupt, evil system. There was a little bit of a delay there on something. I don't know. And also, no, it's true. But you see, listen, people get manipulated by the unions. A lot of times the money gets funneled up. You know, you don't get as much better working conditions as you think. You don't get as much as you would imagine. And in the end, and even if they give it to you, in the end they're going to take it from you. There's the story. That is the way it's going to happen. And now the pensions. Listen, here's the thing. All the whole people are into the unions because of the pensions, right? And all the different pensions. Well, who do you think's going to get plundered next in the next financial crisis? The pension plans. It's written in law. The next time the banks are going to get bailed out, we're going to pay for it in our bank accounts and our pensions and 401ks. Look it up. Google that exact sentence, and you will find the truth. And you need to look into this stuff. You need to understand what's really happening. They are stealing the wealth of this country. They're influxing us with immigrants. It doesn't matter who they are, what diseases they carry, if they're criminals, whatever. They come into our country, no matter what. They could be the worst of scum of the earth. It doesn't matter. Let them come in. Why aren't you thinking about why? You think because it's compassionate? You think it's compassionate Obama goes to the prisons? Instead of getting people, he's going to the prisons to say because a lot of people are in there for drug offenses and non-violent crimes. And I agree with that. 70% of the people are in there for victimless crimes for dumb, stupid shit that shouldn't have been arrested for in the first place. Change all that. Yeah, I agree. But that's not what he's going to end up doing. He's saying the right thing. That's the truth. It's a terrible system. It needs to be completely overhauled and regulated more properly, and stop all this private profiteering going on. But not that. No, he's going to get the people. Listen, you were a rapist. You had a 10-year sentence. We're going to let you off a little sooner. That's the kind of stuff that's going to go on. We're gonna get you out of here. You know, if you do this, this, and this, and jump over these hoops, we'll let you go. And these are people that had long prison terms, and they say that's a good thing because you're cutting. But they're going to be releasing people that are a danger to society while claiming they're helping society because these people are really not dangerous. That's what's going to happen. That's just what's going to happen. Because the guy that's in there that really isn't dangerous, sure, they'll let him go because they need a little cover. They need a little screen. But in that little screen, there's going to be a whole bunch of flies breaking through that are just small enough to squeeze through. Little murderer here, a little, rapist here, a little burglar there, a little robber here, and they're going to keep pulling these people into society, and they're going to reduce the crimes, the criminality of terrible things. I mean, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen. They talk about women's rights. The biggest thing is unbelievable, especially on the left. Oh, women's rights, women's rights. They never speak about Sharia law, how evil it is to women, that they cut off their clitorises, the children. They give them clitorectomies with no anesthesia, little girls, so that they have no pleasure. This is all Sharia law, okay? Genital mutilation, look it up. That's Sharia law. And this is what they want in the world. They want to come here, bring it everywhere. And the left says, we have to be for women's rights, the right to choose. The right to choose. Well, the right to choose to get your clit cut off, there's no choice. If they want to take it off, they're going to take it off. And you support this, you never speak against it. Why is that? How can that possibly be? Makes no sense to me. Just makes equally no sense to support a woman's right to choose, but be against guns. It makes no sense. Gun rights, it's okay for abortion's okay, but guns kill kids, so you can't be against guns. But abortion's okay, so they're not children, they're not human beings. They've gotten you to believe that they're not human beings. That's okay. I guess, they want to make it go up to 9 months or almost 7 months before you can get an abortion. I mean, it's ridiculous. Planned Parenthood is evil. And they just got caught. Planned Parenthood, I don't know if you're aware of this, ladies and gentlemen, but Planned Parenthood just got busted. And I'm so glad, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, and maybe someone will actually do some real reporting in this fucking world. They got caught selling organ parts for testing, for research of aborted fetuses. There's a market for this, and they got caught. A black market. They got caught. Planned Parenthood. These scum. Unbelievable. Unbelievable what's going on in this country. it really is just unbelievable. I mean, every day something new. Every day something's coming up that's more intense than the day before. And it's really it's in overdrive. The New World Order is flying by like a race car. So what did we cover today? We covered the whole pop culture demoralization and the hypersexualization. I mean, they've got these little kids dressing up and doing these moves. It's unbelievable. Like they need a stripper pole. I mean, that's the next thing they'll be doing stripper pole dancing. And I kid you not. And you'll say, "Oh, it's cute. It's cute." That's what they say when when you give them. Well, don't you see? Oh, I think it's cute. It's not cute. It's demoralizing. It changes your ideas about sexuality. It actually, again, these people that want to empower women. I mean, how's that empowering? That you're making somebody that feels the only way they're going to really be liked is if they look like a slut. Think about it. And act like a slut. And give them blowjob lessons and anal sex instruction in kindergarten so that they'll be popular. I mean, it's fucking evil. I mean, let's call it what it is. It's evil. Evil. Listen, I like. I'd like to clear the air here. First of all, I'm not one of these like holy roller type people, or you can't call me a prude or anything like that. In fact, I keep my private life to myself. It's private, okay? That's the way it's supposed to be. That's what life is supposed to. You're not supposed to have a society where sex is out in the open. When you start seeing people fucking in the middle of the street, like some of these porno movies, and let's talk about porno movies for a second. If you glance through any porno, it is always absolutely disgraceful to the women. The women are just beaten up, basically. They are also having sex in like outdoor locations where people can see them. All this stuff that's supposed to be taboo, right? And it's supposed to be just entertainment. And then you have that it's daddy and the little girl having sex, and daddy and his little girl having sex, or the stepmom or mom, and it's like incest is best, and all of this, and they're promoting these things, and they're saying, "Oh no, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's just like it's cute, like the little girls spinning around on the stripper pole." I don't know if you're catching my drift on all this, but this is where America's going. We're gonna get down to the point where society is going to be so accepting of so many things and anything goes, that we're going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah. They're going to say, "Look, they're already doing this. They let people riot and loot in the streets," and the woman says, "I'm the mayor of Baltimore. It's like, I have 5 generations of cops. 5 people in my family are being cops, and you would let knowing that, you would let people run wild in the street against what any normal police officer would do?" I mean, the society is out of control. It's out of control. Out of control. And then, so they're going to let people rob in a situation like this. So then just let them rape. Why do we need police at all? Let's just have pure anarchy. Let everybody do what they want to do. Let it all be like that movie Every Day. That movie where there are no laws. People just go wild in the street. I mean, I'm all for freedom and liberty and
The Purge.
But The Purge, right? That movie, The Purge. I'm all for freedom and liberty and constitutional rights and the Bill of Rights and restoring our republic to what it was once and what it will be again. Make no mistake about it. We will restore this country or die trying. That's a commitment by enough people in this country to make it happen. We will not tolerate this much longer as a nation. The people that are awake and know what's going on and know what they're planning will not tolerate too much more. Well, they are going to wake up.
And they're just going to pound.
Yeah, it's going to cause, well, they sort of in a way want that. They're trying to broil that, but the militias are aware. They know what's going on. The militias, and there's a militia here in Connecticut. I know people in the militia. There are militias in every state. Some states have a few dozen. So don't discount true patriotism of this country, and don't count us out yet. But
this is an emergency
we have to wake the people up to
notification.
this nonsense
All
that's going on.
broadcast stations and
We have
cable
EAS.
systems transmit this emergency
What's
action
that?
notification message. This station has interrupted its regular programming at the
EAS?
request of the White House to
Emergency
participate in the
service
emergency alert
Oh, there's an
system.
emergency service
During this
announcement.
emergency, most
Wow, that's a
stations
good
will
time.
remain on the air,
Timing's
providing
amazing on
news
this
and
today.
information to
So
the
I guess I'm
public
talking-
in
We're not
areas.
supposed to talk over
This is
it.
WNYW. We will continue to serve the New York City area. If you are not in this local area, you should tune to stations providing news and information for your local area. You are listening to the emergency alert system serving the New York City area. Do not use your telephone. The
I'm
telephone
wondering
line
if
should be
somebody
kept
maybe lost their
open for
puppy and they
emergency
decided they
use.
would just interrupt
The
my train of
emergency
thought right
alert
there.
system has been
I hope
activated.
it was something important.
Here
I don't
comes
know.
the message.
Real radio is very confusing to me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not used to these type of things. I just, but it's good. And again, thank you, Keith and Melissa. You know, Keith, our engineer and owner, and Melissa, the producer here,
This is an
for making this a really
emergency
great show.
notification.
I
All
want you to all
broadcast
think about the
stations
things I
and
was talking about
cable
today: this
systems
pop culture
emergency
demoralization
action
and the
notification
hypersexualization of
message.
America. Just think about what's going on here. Remember what Yuri Bezimov said regarding this demoralization and how it is it is a mind control. Look what's going on with the media controlling us and controlling our thoughts and impulses and everything else. And wake up from the matrix. Look at what's really happening in Iran. Research the Roshaniya Illuminati and the assassins. God bless you until next Thursday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on UnitedFMRadio.com. Check out HowardDima.com and Truth Talk News on YouTube for all the rebroadcast information here and a lot of other stuff. It's a tremendous source of information. If you go to HowardDima.com, there's links to a plethora of information. Have a great day. God bless you all. Until next week.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the U.S. government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.
Blessed be indeed.
Radio.com. If you aren't already a fan of us on Facebook, we highly recommend becoming one. The best way for you to interact with us is via our Facebook page, where we encourage likes, comments, and shares. So go there now and give us a like and suggest our page to your friends. Our page is located at facebook.com/United Radio FM. Again, that's facebook.com/United Radio FM.
Looking for a game system or games? Or maybe a piece of stressed or unstressed furniture at a reasonable price? Or maybe you're a KISS fan and you're looking for that perfect memorabilia piece that you've searched all over for, but still haven't found? Well, Second Chance Thrift Shop just might be the place to find your next piece of furniture or KISS memorabilia piece while supplies last. Second Chance Thrift Shop offers different items from clothes at reasonable prices to electronics and game systems, and games at very low prices. But that's not all they offer. They also offer jewelry and books and other finds at very low prices. So stop on by the Second Chance Thrift Shop located at 523 Main Street in Torrington, Connecticut, across from Walgreens. Come on down and find your hidden treasure today.
United FM, powered by
1.21 gigawatts. What the hell is a gigawatt?
Ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality. Even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
Today's ISIS, Al-Qaeda, known as Al-Qaeda, Radical Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of Death, Skull and Bones, and the Thule Society, and many others, are all initiates of the same order, the Order of the Quest. Interestingly, one of the oldest of these secret societies is known as the Roshaniya, who originated from ancient Persia in what is today known as Iraq. Down here in America and across the world, this is a new world order. It's not alone to America, but America is the entertainment capital of the world, especially Hollywood, and they just overemphasize this completely.
But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism, Leninism.
Hi, I'm Howard Nima, and this is a Truth Talk News special report. Over the last 30 years, television and movies, music, pop culture in general, has hypersexualized our youth with ever-increasing images of immoral behavior being promulgated. And then whatever your views are on gay marriage and transgenderism, it is all the rage in pop culture today, all the rage in mass media. The danger of this is not the individual rights that these people deserve, is that they wish to instill these philosophies upon the masses, trying to engage the masses to not only accept but become part of this community or these communities at the detriment of society as a whole. The hypersexualization of society is affecting younger and younger people, children, 6-year-old children, growing up to look like hookers on the street, porn stars, professing that they wish to be sexual and at much earlier ages, and now in schools teaching how to use condoms, how to use birth control to kindergartners, and telling them the differences between anal sex and incest and oral sex, teaching this to kindergartners they want to indoctrinate. It's a very dangerous slope that we're sliding down.
And social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. Obviously they will join the links of dissenters, dissidents. Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be a greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled, because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures,